The ANC is holding its crucial Special National Executive Committee meeting in Boksburg on the Gauteng's East Rand, and the meeting will be discussing various options to constitute a government within the next 2 weeks. Now, some party members say an ANC-DA coalition is the best option for the country's stability, while others, including its alliance partners COSATU and the SACP, have strongly rejected the idea. For more on the story, let's welcome SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje. Mzwandile, a very good afternoon to you. So we do understand the ANC will be actually announcing their way forward in terms of forging a government of national unity later on this evening. Talk to us about some of the names that have obviously been thrown around during these talks.
Well, very good afternoon to you, Alicia. Maybe let's not perhaps jump the gun. We are not at that stage where we can talk about the government of national unity at this stage. So the governing party, which is currently the current governing party, remember they are still the governing party because the executive remains in force until the new president is elected. So is meeting here to basically look at the approach to say, because they were not able to achieve the outright majority, so what exactly is the best way out of this? The timetable is out there, it needs to be followed, a government must be, and then South Africans want services. But maybe before I even go into detail in terms of what's going to be happening, I stole the spokesperson of the ANC, Mzwandile, just to find out where they are in terms of the negotiations. I know that later on the president will then give us an update, but she is the spokesperson, Alicia, so she will tell us where they are and perhaps the mood around the discussions inside.
May I start with the mood and say that thank you very much, Zwai, and start by saying that contrary to popular belief, the National Executive Committee of the ANC is quite cohesive, quite coherent, and quite robust in terms of the discussion and looking at possible scenarios that we will pronounce on perhaps in about 2 hours or thereabout or later. But the mood is positive, and the mood is that of an ANC that recognizes that we secured 40% of the vote. In other words, we have a strategic advantage, but we also are wanting to act in the interest of national unity and national consensus. And we go back to our people and our members to explain our message. We do want to encourage our supporters and our members to hold the line and to await the conversation in the NEC that is currently underway. The president will address members of the media. We're going to have an open session where all of you media colleagues will have a of what we have decided on.
Just in terms of the wind, there are different scenarios, as you have said, government of national unity, grand coalition, and coalition with different parties, reaching out to others and some. So where are we? And I know the detail will come a bit later, but in terms of where we're moving, GNU, coalition?
National consensus is the operative word. Forging ahead to continue with the project of building national unity is the operative word.
Well, that national consensus, does it then translate into government of national unity?
At this point, that is under consideration. I'm not at liberty to pronounce on a decision that has not been made yet. A number of scenarios are being looked at. We are also looking at what are those things that we cannot afford to lose. Inclusion, supporting our people, the poorest of the poor in particular, and a number of pieces of legislation that are transformative, that are important. I'm not going to be able to pronounce on this or that scenario.
In terms of exploratory talks with other parties, what has been their attitude? I know that you are not at anywhere near the final stages of talks with them, but what is the sense you are getting, for example, in your engagement with the DA, the EFF, the IFP, and others really that you've reached out to?
Well, we haven't gotten a sense of hostility. In fact, I think that really our democracy is maturing because those that have made approaches to the ANC or have been invited by the ANC have come with the spirit of wanting a very friendly, positive spirit, and without exception. And the only party that we have not met, a significant player, is the MK party. That's the only party that we have met. We've made approaches to them, and it's not been responded to unless it has happened today when we were here at Birchwood. But all of those that we've spoken to, there's really been that spirit of let us all work together.
In terms of the robust engagements inside, we know there are members of the NEC who are very outright and upfront in terms of what they would prefer to see. And given that we know there are these views publicly, how would you characterize the engagement and the debate inside?
Well, I will characterize it as really healthy. And the good thing is that it's not a new thing in the ANC. It's always been that way. It gets interrogated strongly, but we always have got the ability to emerge with one voice, and that is the spirit that we're carrying in the meeting as well as when we end this meeting.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, Alicia, that was the spokesperson of the ANC, Mzwandile Mbeje, who basically is saying in the next 2 hours or so, the president of the ANC will then speak to the media, really outlining to the nation what the party has decided in terms of approaching this question of either coalition or government of national unity. At some point, some sort of agreement will have to be reached because the constitution of the National Assembly has to happen sometime next week. So clearly, we are running out of time. I think the parties, all of them, so are quite aware of this. I don't think there's anyone, Alicia, who would want a situation where there will be a stalemate to the point that we have to go for a rerun.
A very quick one, Mzwandile. We understand that there were actually protests in relation to this very matter that was staged right outside of where these discussions are taking place. You on the scene, what are you currently witnessing now?
Well, right now, obviously, is the members of the NEC who are inside. Obviously, time and again, they'll walk out, I'm sure, to refresh. But the debates and the discussions are happening inside where really they are trying to find each other. And as you've heard there, the operative word is national consensus. You can already deduce from what Mzwandile Mbeje has been saying what the ANC will really be pushing towards. And I think I understand why perhaps go for this route. There is rather an impassioned discussion or rather objection to perhaps going with the DA, despite the fact that many people are saying perhaps the coalition between the ANC and the DA will be the most workable, but the kind of objection and opposition to it so would have informed the ANC to say we ought to, because we do not want to lose the base that has voted for us, and there's so many things that have been happening. And I saw earlier Lindwe Sisulu, she was on SABC, where she basically said, in her view, the coalition with the DA, as far as she's concerned, is definitely not that she is looking forward to. It's unworkable and it's unsuitable. So there are many of those voices here, and as you have said, Alicia, even from some of the ordinary members that we saw earlier. But the fact of the matter is that this party here will have to come out with an approach, the approach that at some point will have to bring up everybody, and then the government will have to be formed.
Thank you so much for that. SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje there right outside the Birchwood Hotel, where we understand, as we heard it right here on SA Today, that in just under 2 hours the ANC will be announcing their preferred candidate, as well as a way forward in, of course, forging a government of national unity.